Umagyan Timidandasya Ginam Gina Shilakaya Chuksunimilitam Jena Tasmai Siddhavin Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Shwayam Rupakadamayam Dadanti Svapadantakam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most humble obeisances and the dust of your lotus feet. All glories to you. My beloved spiritual master, today we have gathered in the holy Dham of Sri Vrindavan to observe your annual Tirobhava Mahotsava, your departure day festival. To mark the occasion, the temple has been nicely decorated, the deities are dressed with beautiful clothes and ornaments, and the atmosphere is electric with a festive mood. On the surface it appears to be a scene of great joy, but within my heart there is little to celebrate. Your departure was and still is the most devastating event in my life. Being but an infant in spiritual life, I was fully dependent upon you as my spiritual father, and I missed you dearly after you left. It is said that time heals all wounds, but this adage does not apply in the realm of devotional service. For the pain of separation from you has only increased through the years because of the transcendental nature of our relationship as guru and disciple. My only solace is that such feelings of separation, combined with lifetimes of service to your sacred mission of reclaiming fallen conditioned souls, may one day grant me the privilege of your association again. Is it not ironic, my beloved Lord and Master, that the cause of our grief and lamentation on the day you left 32 years ago was a source of great joy and happiness for the residents of the spiritual world who eagerly awaited your return? Oh, what festivities must have taken place upon your arrival. You, the chosen son, victorious in every way, having fulfilled the order of Guru and Gauranga, were surely received in great glory. Or did Providence arrange that your own glorious spiritual master, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, in his eternal form as Narayana Mani Manjari, personally met you and taking your hand, led you to a secluded place in the forest to be alone with Krishna? Such things are not for us to speculate on, but the possibility of such an encounter with one's spiritual master upon returning back to Godhead was once revealed by you to a loving disciple in a moment of intimacy. Surely such a homecoming was your right, for you had fulfilled the orders of Guru and Gauranga above and beyond the call of duty, perhaps more than any other acharya in the history of the human race. Armed only with the order of your spiritual master and with full faith in the holy names of the Lord, you left India at an advanced age and single-handedly challenged the entire basis of Western culture while living in New York, the bastion of the age of Kali. You uprooted the ideals of voidism and impersonalism with your strong preaching, and you shook to the core the well-established values of materialism in the lives of all people you met. You started a spiritual revolution that continues in full force down to the present day. I am but a simple soul, limited by time and space. I am unable to appreciate the greater picture of your success and the positive impact it will have on future generations all over the world. But by serving your mission in my own humble way, I am often privileged to see the astounding results of your work in the hearts and souls of people you came to save. The other day, while visiting the holy Tirtha of Sri Lanka in South India, I was chanting my rounds to the town in the early hours of the morning when an elderly man called to me from the window of his home. "Excuse me, sir," he called out. "Please wait. I desperately need to ask you something." He ran out of his house and came up to me out of breath. "Is it true what they say?" he said. "Is it true?" He paused to catch his breath. "True?" I said. "Is what true, my dear sir?" "Is it true?" he burst out. "Is it true that Vedic culture has spread all over the world by the efforts of Bhaktivedanta Swami?" I paused for a moment and smiled. "Well, yes," I said. "Yes, it is. And is it true that because of him, many people in foreign countries are reading Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Purana, and the Upanishads in their own languages? A surge of pride welled up in me, and my eyes filled with tears. Yes, sir, I said. All that is happening because of my exalted master, Srila Prabhupada. He looked at my dress and demeanor. Are there many more like you? He said. Oh yes, I replied. Tens of thousands. Americans, Germans, French, Italians, Russians, and many more. He pointed to my bead bag. Russians, he said? Russians are chanting on beads like you? Yes, yes, I replied. They're the best of the devotees. He shook his head. Then truly the world is indebted to Bhaktivedanta Swami, he said. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada, later that afternoon, I went with several other devotees to visit an ancient temple of Lord Shiva outside of Sri Lanka. As we walked through the temple with its hundreds of carved stone pillars, we came upon a small old man the size of a dwarf. He was a sadhu. He wore old Rudraksha beads around his neck, and his forehead and body were marked with the three line tilak of the Shiva worshipper. He seemed surprised to see Westerners dressed as sadhus. You're obviously not from India, he said to me. What country do you come from, and why are you dressed like this? I am a disciple of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, I said. He was a great spiritual teacher from India who brought Vedic culture to the West over 40 years ago. He initiated thousands of disciples who now carry on his work after his departure. He studied us carefully. I'm curious, he said. Can you sit with me and tell me more? Another priest who was walking by saw us. This elderly man is the chief priest in our temple, he said. He's over 70 years of age. I turned to the head priest. Then yes, of course, I said. Let us speak. Dear Srila Prabhupada, as we sat, I answered his questions and explained how you had transplanted the spiritual culture of India in the West. When I spoke of the many difficulties you had undergone in preaching, he seemed deeply moved. After some time, he took my hand. Come with me, he said. He led me to an isolated part of the temple. We entered a small, dark room, lit only by 2 or 3 ghee lamps. As my eyes adjusted to the dim light, I noticed an old Shiva lingam in the center of the room, with sandalwood and red flowers still fresh from the morning offering. We sat down, and the old priest pointed to the Rudraksha beads around his neck. These beads were given to me by a father when I was 7 years old, he said. I have never once taken them off. They contain the fruit of all my penances and austerities, the results of all my prayers, and all my spiritual strength and power. My father received them from his father when he was just a boy. My father's father had gotten them from his guru, who had received them from his own guru many years before. They are almost 200 years old. He paused. Then he slowly took off the Rudraksha beads and carefully placed them around my neck. I'm giving them to you, he said, so you will have the power to continue the work of your glorious master. Then he broke down crying. I sat there stunned, trying to fathom the great mercy I just received. It was obvious that he was honoring you, Srila Prabhupada, and I was simply accepting a gift on your behalf. As always, you alone are the source of my good fortune in this life and the next. My prayer is that I may use that sadhu's blessings, the fruit of all his penances and austerities, the result of all his prayers and offerings, whatever spiritual strength and power those beads contain, to continue serving your mission throughout my life. The next day I visited a priest from the Sri Rangam temple, Murali Bhattar Rangaraj. He is a direct descendant of the great devotee Venkat Bhatt, and he lives in the house where Lord Chaitanya stayed during his visit to Sri Lanka 500 years ago. He gave me a shalagram Srila that had been worshipped in his family since the time Mahaprabhu stayed with him, and he made it clear that it was an appreciation of ISKCON and the great work that you did in spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. Srila Prabhupada, I realize that such gifts and the many other fruits that come from serving you are things that even the demigods in heaven can only dream of. Thus, despite the inconveniences and difficulties that I may encounter in following your order to preach all over the world, I want to say that I am fully satisfied and happy in my service to you. I have no lamentation, no doubts, no grievances, no complaints, and no other desire than to share with others the good fortune I've inherited from you. If Providence grants me a long life, then I will be happy to use every single moment in preaching for you. If fate dictates otherwise, then I pray to join you in your eternal service with lotus feet of the Lord in the spiritual sky. Perhaps, just perhaps, you will be waiting for me at the gates of Vaikuntha, ready to introduce the servant to your beloved Lord. At that time, it will be my greatest pleasure to share with you more stories of how your mercy continues to touch the hearts of so many fallen souls within this material world. I know beyond a doubt that the success of your preaching mission gives you as much pleasure as your service in the spiritual world. I am always and forever your servant in Indradyumna.
Thank His Holiness Indradyumna Maharaj for sharing this beautiful story of how people are amazed at Prabhupada's mercy spreading throughout the world.